spend so much time trying to acquire, trying to gain, that relationships get neglected. And oftentimes the primary relationship with God. Because once we get all those things, we got to do something about them. And that's going to pull away time and attention and finance. Possessions won't buy contentment. A third lesson, possessions have fingers. Let's pick it up in verse 32. Don't be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses for yourselves that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will not be exhausted. In other words, this stuff that you gather on earth is going to wear out. It's going to be exhausted. Get your priorities right. It's a place in heaven where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. You see, your treasure has fingers, and the fingers of your treasures wrap themselves around your heart. And they'll squeeze the spiritual life out of it if you allow them. Hebrews chapter 12:1, the Hebrew writer wrote, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us." It's very difficult, isn't it, to run when you got things grabbing up at your legs? And what happens is you begin to look down at what's holding you up and entangling you, and when you do that, your focus gets taken off of Christ. We've got a race that we've got to run with endurance. But the fingers of our possessions, if we allow them, they're going to grow up around our legs, crawl up our bodies, and grab our hearts and squeeze the life out of us. Possessions have fingers. And that's what Jesus said, go sell your possessions. Remember the rich young ruler? Couldn't do it because they had gripped him so tightly. I don't know. I would like to think that if Jesus told me, sell your possessions, I would say, no problem. Get me on eBay, give me a yard sale, I'm good to go. But I really don't know until that test comes. What about those things that, quote, have quote, sentimental value? Can we let the things of earth go in order to keep our focus on Jesus? Lesson number 4, possessions can blur perception. Remember what Jesus said, don't set your heart on the things of earth. Keep your eyes focused on Christ because that's where the clarity is. Claritin clear, You see something, you think it's clear, and then Claritin comes in. Well, you think you see things clearly, but you really don't see them as clearly as you do until Christ is the Lord and Christ is first. Because possessions can blur our perception. I got a little video clip, old-time video. The eyes of the lady as she was reaching for the Holy Grail. This possessive, I got to get it. And perhaps you didn't even see it in the eyes of Indiana Jones. When he was looking at it, it was just, I can touch it, I got it. And then this voice from the outside, Indiana, real quiet, Indiana. And he looks in the face of his father. His whole face changes. The father says, look, Indiana, just let it go. There are a lot of people who are endangering Perhaps their physical lives through stress and overwork. Their spiritual lives, because they think they've got to attain the Holy Grail. That thing that will somehow give meaning or purpose or something to their lives. And outside, God is saying, hey, let it go. Let it go. Is it wrong to own things? I don't want you to think that, and go away from here, think that I'm saying we should all just wear sackcloth and ashes. You know, I have been abundantly blessed in my life. And I don't have any guilt over the things that God has, through good stewardship, brought into my life. Jesus didn't say to the crowd, don't own anything. Jesus was addressing an issue of the heart. And that's why he said, don't set your heart on these things. Don't be consumed by worry over these things. I think Jesus is saying, what's your attitude about what you own? Do you own your possessions, or do your possessions own you? You see, the amount of hours that we are given every day, the amount of hours that we are given every week is not going to grow. We all get the same amount, and it's been that way since the beginning of time. But when we chase after those possessions and we feel that we just have to have those things, something has got to give. And those possessions can steal away time, finance, our attention. They will steal our hearts and take our focus off of Jesus. We have got to have our possessions in proper perspective, because possessions can blur perception. Are you taking time and money away from God and from your family because you were consumed by something you just have to have? I remember years ago, people used to want you to get into Amway. And Amway used to have this thing where you put a boat or something like that on your refrigerator. And you would paste up all of these things that you want to be, and that was your motivation. You want to own these things. That's your motivation in life. Have you become a slave to your possessions and your pastimes? What about selfishness and greed and possessiveness? In verses 35 through 40, Jesus reminds his listeners that they need to be ready to serve, and they need to be ready when Jesus the Master returns. Very quickly, let's read those verses. Be dressed, ready for service, and keep your lamps burning, like men waiting for your master to return from a wedding banquet, so that when he comes and knocks, they can immediately open the door for him. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them watching when he comes. I tell you the truth, he will dress himself to serve, will have them recline at the table, and will come and wait on them. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them ready, even if he comes in the second or third watch of the night. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have left his house to be broken into. You also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Jesus said, don't store up possessions where a thief can break in. And what he is saying is, if you knew when I was coming back, oh yeah, you'd get yourself ready. Well, you don't know when I'm coming, so you be on your guard. You be ready to serve. But the thing is, folks, we can't serve if our hands are full of our stuff.